Hi students, welcome to the science class. In last session under the chapter of acids, bases and salts, we discussed about what are acids, what are bases, what are the characteristics of the acids, what are the characteristics of the bases, and what are the indicators and what are the natural indicators. Under that we studied about the what is the indicators like the turmeric paper, and another one it is the Chinese rose petal indicator, isn't it, and also the litmus paper. So in today's session I am going to discuss you with that is nothing but the panopthylene indicator. It is one of the chemical indicator, and also I am discussing in this session about the neutralization and what is the uses of the neutralization in everyday life. So now you have to consider, you have to take two test tubes. You have to take two test tubes and you have to fill the 1/4 of the test tube with one test tube with the sodium hydroxide solution and another one test tube with the dilute HCl solution. So dilute HCl, that is dilute HCl, it is an acid. You have to fill the under one test tube, 1/4 test tube with the dilute HCl. Now you have to take a dropper. You have to take a dropper and first we have to add 4 drops, about 4 to 5 drops of panopthylene indicator to the test tube which contains dilute HCl. You have to remember here, you have to take 2 test tubes. In one test tube you have to take 1/4 of the test tube of sodium hydroxide solution. In under one test tube you have to take a dilute HCl. It is an acid, hydrochloric acid, dilute HCl, hydrochloric acid. And now you have to put the 4 to 5 drops of panopthylene indicator into the test tube contains dilute HCl. You have to add 4 drops of panopthylene indicator. Now again you have to you have to use the dropper and you have to add drop by drop the sodium hydroxide solution. You have to take care about here, you are not going to add the bases, that is like sodium hydroxide solution, directly fastly with an acid, because it makes an explosion. It reacts very quickly with acid. So you have to add the bases drop by drop, or you have to add any waters into any acid when you are going to make reactions, when you are going to make experiments. You have to add by drop. So using a dropper you have to add drop by drop the sodium hydroxide solution into the test tube contains the dilute HCl and the panopthylene indicator. When you are going to add the panopthylene indicator to the test tube contain dilute HCl, there is no change in color. That is the color of the test tube, that is colorless. If you are going to add the panopthylene indicator, then also the color of the test tube or the color of the solution it doesn't has a color, isn't it? It is a colorless solution. But now you have to add drop by drop the sodium hydroxide solution into the test tube contain the dilute HCl and the panopthylene indicator. First you have to add 1 drop and stir it well. You have to take the test tube, add the 1 drop of the sodium hydroxide solution to the test tube which contains the dilute HCl and panopthylene indicator and stir it well. So there is no color, there is no change in the color. Now again you have to take 1 drop of the sodium hydroxide solution, again add to the test tube, and now also you have to stir it well. Again there is no change in the color. You have to continue this process until you get the change in color of the solution. At the one end, when you are going to add a sodium hydroxide solution with the well stirring drop by drop, at one end you got the solution which is present in the test tube which contains dilute HCl and panopthylene indicator turns to pink. It turns to pink, then you have to stop the adding of the sodium hydroxide solution. Is it clear? When at the one end the solution which contains dilute HCl and a panopthylene indicator, that will changes the color into pink. At that time you have to stop the adding of the sodium hydroxide solution, and now you have to drop you have to put 1 drop of dilute HCl solution to the test tube which is in the pink color. You have to add a pure dilute HCl solution, 1 drop of the pure HCl solution into that test tube. Again you are seeing, you are experiencing that the color which comes, the pink color which comes before, that will disappear. Again the color will be, the solution of the color will be colorless due to the adding of the acid dilute HCl. Again you have to add 1 drop of sodium hydroxide solution to that test tube. Again the pink color appears. So what happens here, this is nothing but the neutralization. What happens here, when here it is dilute HCl, the dilute HCl treated with the NaOH solution. So dilute HCl, it is a hydrochloric acid. This is an acid. When acid is treated with the sodium hydroxide solution, sodium hydroxide is a base. When acid reacts with the base, it produces a salt and a water, and the reaction, it is known as a neutralization reaction. See, I am using one indicator here, that is nothing but a chemical indicator, that is nothing but panopthylene indicator. What is the character here? What are the properties of the panopthylene indicator here? So panopthylene indicator, when it is mixed with the acid, or when we are going to test with the acid or a neutral solution, it doesn't changes the color of the solution. It doesn't changes the color of the solution. But when the panopthylene indicator added to a base, the color of the solution changes to pink color. The property of the panopthylene indicator, it is nothing but it changes the color of the base to the pink, but it doesn't changes the color of the acid and the color of the neutral solution. Is it clear? So what is the neutralization here? When acid reacts with the base, it forms a salt and water. So this reaction is known as a neutralization reaction. I am taking that same example here. When hydrochloric acid reacts with the sodium hydroxide solution or a sodium hydroxide base, that forms sodium chloride as a salt with the presence of water. So this reaction is known as a neutralization reaction. Is it clear? So what are the characteristics of the salt here? The salt, it may be acidic in nature, or may be a basic in nature, or may be a neutralized in nature. So based on the nature of the acid, based on the nature of the base, the salt produced in the neutralization reaction, the characteristics of the characters of the salt will be depends on the characters of the acids and the bases. So the salt, it will be in a acidic nature, or in a basic in nature, or maybe in a neutralizing nature. So this is all about the neutralization. So what is the use of the neutralization in our daily life? One word we are going to heard every day in our life, when we are going to eat so much of the acidic foods, that is nothing but acidity. What happens in the acidity? As we know already, in our stomach, our pancreas secretes hydrochloric acid. You have to remember, that will be discussed in your second lesson, neutralization in our animals or in a man. That discuss what that point it is. Our pancreas secretes hydrochloric acid. So when we are going to eat more amount of the acidic foods, what happens? The acidic property of the stomach increases. The acidic property of the stomach increases. The more acidic property of the stomach increases, it causes indigestion. It causes indigestion, and that indigestion causes stomach pain. That indigestion causes stomach pain. To relieve from the stomach pain, we are going to take some of the bases, because as we know already, to control the effect of the acid, or to neutralize the effect of the acid, we have to add any bases. So when in our stomach, when the hydrochloric acid percentage will be increases, when the acidity of the stomach will be increases, we have to take some of the bases. So at that time, to get the relief from indigestion, we take antacids such as milk of magnesia. So we are going to take, at the acidity time, we are going to take the antacids like milk of magnesia, which contains the magnesium hydroxide, which neutralizes the effect of the acid. So it is the one of the everyday use of the neutralization here. When we feel acidity, we are going to take the some of the bases like that milk of magnesia. So it contains magnesium hydroxide. It relieves or it controls the effect of the acids, and we get the relief from the stomach pain or indigestion pain, isn't it? So it is one of the use of the neutralization here. It is used in indigestion. And second use of the neutralization, it is in the ant bite. So as I told already, when any ant bites to us, it releases some of the acid into our skin and it causes the rashes or burning pain. So how we are going to get relief from that? So when any ant bites to our skin, it injects the formic acid into our body. So how we are going to get the relief from the formic acid? Again we come to know, again we have to take an anabase to neutralize the effect of the formic acid. So that is nothing but the neutralization. So the effect of the formic acid neutralized by rubbing moist baking soda. Baking soda, it is nothing but sodium hydrogen carbonate. So when any ant bites to your body, to get relief from that burning pain, so you have to rub using the baking soda, moist baking soda. You can get very easily the relief from that ant bite. And also we can use another one solution, that is nothing but the calamine solution. So to get the relief from ant bite, to control the effect of the formic acid, we can use the calamine solution. The calamine solution contains zinc hydroxide. It contains zinc hydroxide, that is one type of the base. So what happens here again? The ant bite injects the formic acid. To control the formic acid, to control the effect of the formic acid, we have to add any bases here. So we are going to use the base like, that is the moist baking soda, that is nothing but the sodium hydrogen carbonate, or calamine solution, that is zinc hydroxide solution. So what is here? That is nothing but the neutralization. Using the neutralization process, we can get the relief from ant bite. And another one use of the neutralization effect in our daily life, it is nothing but the soil treatment. So what happens, what is the use of the neutralization in the soil treatment? So you have to remember here, excessive use of a chemical fertilizer to the soil, that will causes the property that makes the soil will be very acidic. So how we are going to use how much amount of the fertilizer will be used, that will be control, that will be causes the acidic property of the soil. But the excessive use of the chemical fertilizer causes the acidic property, that increases the acidic property of the soil. You have to remember here, if the soil becomes too acidic, if the soil becomes too basic, then it doesn't good for the growth of the plants. So we can get, or we want the neutralized soil. So we can control, we are going to use the neutralization process to control the acidic property of the soil or to the basic property of the soil. So when the soil will be acidic, what we are going to do? When the soil will be acidic, it will be treated with the basics like a quick lime or a slaked lime. If you know that due to the heavy use of the chemical fertilizer, if the acidic property of the soil will be increases, what we are going to do in that condition? So we can treat that soil with the quick lime or the slaked lime. This quick lime or a slaked lime, it is a basic solution, or it is a basic material. When acidic material mixed with the basic material, again it neutralizes the reaction, the soil will be neutralized, and that soil will be helpful to grow the plants to get a good yield. And also, if the soil will be more basic, what happens? If the soil will be more basic, what we are going to do? If the soil will be more acidic, we are going to use some of the basic solutions. But if the soil will be more basic, to get neutralized that soil, if we are going to add any acids, no, it is not possible. But how we are going to control, how we are going to neutralize that basic soil? So that will be neutralized by adding, that will be treated with compost or organic matter. So organic matter or compost releases the some of the acids, so that will neutralizes the basic property of the soil, and the soil will be neutralized. So this is another one use of the neutralization effect in our daily life. And last use of the neutralization effect in our daily life, it is nothing but the factory wastes. The factory wastes contain large amount of the acids, and that acids will be very harmful for the animals which are present in the water, because all the factory wastes will be thrown or will be released to the water, to the river, or to some of the sources of the river. But that sources of the river contain some of the organisms, organism, living beings, but the acids which are present in the factory wastes are very harmful to that organisms, that may kill the fishes or the organisms which are present in the water. So to control the acidity of that factory wastes, we are going to add some of the bases to the factory waste to control, to neutralize the acidic property of the factory waste. So it is another one use of the neutralization effect, that neutralization will be utilized to make neutralize the factory waste, isn't it? This is all about your another one most important chapter, that is nothing but acids, bases and salts. So in this session we studied about what are acids, what are bases, what is the neutralization, what are neutrals, what are indicators, what are natural indicator, what is the chemical indicator. The one type of the chemical indicator, it is nothing but the phenolphthalein, and what are the properties of that indicators, and also we studied what are the uses of the neutralization. So in next lesson we are going to study your next chapter, that is nothing but the chemical reactions. Okay, thank you.